So the last time that I posted an Indiana Fever video on this channel, I was basically posing the question, is the team better without her? They were just coming off dominating the Aces. I believe they won by 20-something points. They were rolling offensively. Kelsey Mitchell was still on her July burner, where she just looked like the best scorer in the WNBA. And, it looked like, Steph White had found a system or, found a lineup where, with Ty Harris, where she doesn't necessarily need to have Caitlin be, Caitlin Clark that we know her to be in order for the team to be successful. And it posed a lot of questions. Social media was going crazy. Caitlin was on this minutes restriction. People were saying that it was a way of soft benching her, in case she was wasn't following the script or whatever. A whole lot of noise. And I ended up taking a couple weeks off. I had a family coming to town. My birthday happened. I had a lot go on over the last couple of weeks, so didn't get a chance to record, but I did absolutely get a chance to watch. And just watching the last couple games with the Indiana Fever since posting that video, I just got to say, I can't keep letting Twitter propaganda get to my mind, because since Caitlin Clark has came back and just recently she actually was able to play a regular rotational minutes, she's looked like an absolute monster. She's looked like an absolute beast. The 3-point shot has been flowing. The 3-point shot's been back. She's really incorporated that mid-range shot, getting to the basket. To being the best passer in the WA, she'll always be that. She has just absolutely carried her weight since coming back. It's helped the team in an even better way now, because now we're not looking at the situation as, oh, the team is the best when Ty Harris is the starter. We're looking at it as, holy shit, we've got Caitlin Clark being Caitlin Clark again, shooting deep bomb logo threes, and at the same time we have a great backup point guard option in Ty Harris, where Raven Johnson was kind of shaky in that aspect. And the rest of the team overall has just been best in the WNBA, one of the best in the WNBA. I think record-wise, they had the third best record in the last 10 games. I think they're 7-3. I think only the Valkyrie have a better record. And there's another team here. Hold up, the Valkyrie and the Lynx are the only team that have more wins than the Fever in their last 10 games. And listen, man, it's all clicking. It's all been clicking offensively. Aaliyah's been Aaliyah Boston. Caitlin Clark has really looked like herself especially these last 3 games. She had a performance against Seattle. I didn't get to talk about that performance. The performance against Seattle, where she had 45 points and 10 assists, just absolutely dominating that game. And if I could talk on that game for a second, she was just in a different flow state. Like when she was, her and Kelsey to start that game, they were kind of just moving different. They were kind of looking like that 2024 version of that duo that we had seen that was the best duo in all of basketball. Caitlin Clark was ripping the defense apart with backdoor cuts. Kelsey Mitchell, I believe that she was able to score, I want to say she was able to score 10 points in the first 3 minutes, and she may have taken 2 dribbles. It was absolutely, beautiful orchestration by Caitlin, beautiful basketball IQ by Kelsey Mitchell to go out there and, get those buckets. She's feeding Aaliyah Boston, feeding shooters. And then Caitlin Clark's 3-ball the last couple games has been back. It's been back. And I posed a question a couple of videos, I think, prior to my most recent one, where I was basically just saying, hey, Caitlin, we got into the midway point of the season to figure out what's really going on with this 3-point shot. Because the 3-point shot over the course of the season just wasn't, it wasn't going to get it done. It wasn't going to get it done. She was taking these very difficult threes, off the dribble, step back threes, not many in rhythm threes. And, when they're not falling, they're not fun to watch. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's anything controversial to say. When they're not falling, they're not fun to watch. But as I think, and I think that her watching the offense when she's been off the floor, and I think it was different from her watching it this season as opposed to last season, because last season, she may have known in the back of her mind, I know I'm working to get back, but just based off the timeline, based off how all these things are rolling, I may not have time to really be able to get healthy to be able to actually, join this team for a playoff run. But, the minor injuries that she dealt with this year, she's known, hey, I'm going to be back on the court. How can I make this team better? And she's made the team better by, letting Steph White's offense do her thing, and, really helped herself by, being okay with being a part of, getting easy shots. Not so much, of her going rogue, just being hey, we're going to set up a play where I get a pin down, come off a screen, get a good look, let me knock that down. I think over the last 4 games, she's got a lot of good looks from her threes, which has, which builds her confidence up. And once her confidence is building, then you're looking at the step back threes, the logo threes, the threes that really get the crowd going and deflate the other team. And in that Seattle game, man, she it was bravo. It was just a brilliant performance from her on the offensive end. Even in that game, Kelsey Mitchell still was able to stay on her burner, and she dropped an additional 30 points, just like the team's offense has been rolling. Let's just look at a couple of these point totals over the course of the last couple games. So let's see. Since the last time that I recorded a video, so it was this game right here against the, oh, no, not that one. It was this one against the Aces, where they came out here, beat them by, what's that? I'm not doing math right now. Beat them by a good amount of points right there. But this was a game without Asia Wilson. This is a game where, you're looking at, a shell of a Aces team. They came back. Caitlin actually comes back the next game against LA, and they lose that game after just blowing out LA the game before. So that's when the narrative was really starting to reach its fever pitch. Then the Fever come out here and they get a tough dub against the Mercury, where they got out a 3-point win. I think that game also ended in a game winner from Kelsey Mitchell or something along those lines. I'm not remembering. But then the game against the Aces happened. And Caitlin Clark came back, still on minutes restriction. She looked like she just was part of the offense. She looked like, part of what the scheme was to allow Caitlin Clark to be able to do what she does. And Caitlin, it looks like her and Steph made an agreement. Like, hey, I'll do what you need me to do if you let me do what I want to do. And, they had that agreement. And in this game, Caitlin has 12 points. She has 7 rebounds. She has 6 assists. 5-11 from the floor, shooting 45% from 45% from the field. Struggled to knock down threes, but overall played a really solid floor game. Only 4 turnovers. That's big because Caitlin will, literally just throw out 5 turnovers to you real quick. But she allowed the rest of the team around her to play great. Kelsey Mitchell came out and had 27. AB came out and dominated that game. A game that had Asia Wilson in it. Elia Boston really has taken that next step, like especially with her 3-point shooting. When I was talking about AB's 3-point shooting at the beginning of the season, I thought it was going to be improved to the level where she might hit 1 a game. At this point, she's hitting, I think, almost 2 a game. It's got to be close to. If not, that's just really what it feels like, because she'll have a game where she'll come out and she'll knock down 3 threes. So, her, Mo Billings has really been able to find her flow, being a rim runner, being able to score. Lexi Hull still hasn't really found any kind of impact on this team. But it hasn't hurt the team too much. You know what I'm saying? Sophie Cunningham has been great. So they come out and they dominate that game. They come back out and they face their nemesis, the Golden State Valkyrie, who come out and put a nice little ass whooping on them. It was a game where they kind of had it, I think they had clawed back into the third quarter. Then they kind of just fell apart towards the end of it. Just unable to, get stops, unable to, not turn the ball over, end up losing that game. And then here's the 45-point game right here against Seattle, 110-107. Caitlin Clark, 45 points, 10 assists. Just a ridiculous game, 17-19 from the floor. And this is the game that actually happened right after, I believe, Adam Silver came out and said something about WNBA officiating. I forgot what exactly it was. But literally, the next game that happened, Caitlin comes out and shoots 19 free throws. And if you go back and look at all those fouls, they were fouls that you see. There were plays that you see happen with Caitlin Clark really the entire season, but they were actually called fouls. The random clutching, the random, getting in her landing space. I think that, especially in the last 3 or 4 games, she's gotten so many more landing space calls in terms of that. I think she may have, drawn maybe 2 flagrants on that also. A little shift was there. She knocked down 6 threes, 11-18 from the floor, just super efficient overall. You got to say is the best Caitlin Clark game, of her WNBA career. If you're ranking them, you got the 3 threes against Liberty. You got Barbie night, where she went crazy against Chicago. Even if you want to throw in the game winner against Washington earlier this season, I know that game was kind of shaky and she was in foul trouble, but just like how she closed out the game, how she stayed resilient, I would put that up there. But overall, just best game, of her career. And then we have these last 2 games here. So we had the game against the Liberty and the game against Connecticut. So neither of these opponents are, super, dominant, especially like the Liberty, who they have been over the course of the last couple of years. They don't look like that this year. You know what I'm saying? They're only 13-12, and they came out and they got handed a 20-point loss in the Indiana Fever, a team that they usually do a pretty good job of dominating. And I think that this, for me, was kind of where I saw that, hey, this actually is maybe something that is something really did click, because their scoring the last couple of games has been out of control. Aside from this Valkyrie game, 109 against the Aces, 110 against Seattle, 108 against New York, and then 123 against Connecticut. In that Connecticut game, man, they were just rolling from absolute go. Let me see if I can get to the point breakdown. So look at this. In the first half, they scored 70 points. That's an Indiana Fever franchise record. Caitlin was rolling, Kelsey Mitchell was rolling. The entire team was just playing amazing, and the offense looks like it's just found a stride. That if they can ride this out, even with their defensive worries, even with the fact that they really struggle to get stops on the defensive end of the floor, I still see a world where they can win a WNBA championship just based off the fact that they can play this explosive. I think that they think the only thing that'll really pose an issue for them is if they run into the Golden State Valkyrie. That is a team where, they force Indiana to turn the ball over. They have great defenders for Indiana's best players, whether it be Caitlin and Kelsey. And for some reason, Aaliyah Boston really struggles against Golden State in terms of, being able to stay on her floor, being able to stay on the floor with foul trouble. But outside of that, there's really nobody that I can say that I'm supremely worried about when it comes to the Fever if they're rolling like this. Obviously, the defense needs to improve. Like, if we want to see if I can pull it up really quick, the overall defensive stats for this team are just, they're not good. Let's go over to our defensive rating. Defensive rating, they're only the 7th, so they're a middle of the pack defensive rating. Stats, I guess stats really don't tell the story with this team when it comes to how bad they are defensively, because it feels like on multiple occasions they'll just literally let teams walk to the basket. They'll just let teams make one pass and be able to score a basket. And maybe I just don't watch enough WNBA all around to, be able to say that this doesn't happen amongst other teams. But I want to say it based off the other games that I have seen. I don't see many games where teams are just walking around, wide open like they are against the Indiana Fever. The only team I can see that's maybe comparable would be the Dallas Wings, because they also will just let a team just walk right back down to the basket. But I'll say this though, if you're able to score 110 points a game, I really don't have any fear in my mind that you'll be able to do big things when it comes down to the playoffs, because at the end of the day, in the playoffs, your superstars need to be superstars. The reason why the Aces won a championship last year wasn't because NaLyssa Smith went bonkers out of her mind during the playoff run. She played very, very well, but Asia Wilson looked like the best player in all of basketball. Jackie Young made plays that Jackie Young needs to make in order for them to be a championship team. The stars play like stars. And I think that when you're looking at this playoff run, it'll be a very similar thing with that. I think that when you have Kelsey Mitchell having the best season of her career, let me see if I can pull up Kelsey's stats real quick. Best season of her career, which she's coming out here, especially like this heater she's been on over the last month, has just been absolutely incredible. Like, she's putting up, what's this, 23 points per game? Yeah, 23 points per game. She don't do not really much else besides score, but 23 points per game on damn near 50% from the floor. I actually want to look at her 3-point numbers. I know she's been shooting the skin off the ball. For this season, she's shooting almost 43% from three. Like, she's on an insane burner. She's really found a rhythm, found a flow inside this Fever offense, and I think that honestly, if we're riding a wave where, Caitlin Clark doesn't need to be our best scorer, she can just be, the facilitator that she is, and then she'll always be able to get buckets when she can, especially with this newfound three-level scoring ability. The sky's the limit with this team. Not to even mention players like, Aaliyah Boston, who's been having a great last couple weeks. Michaela Timpson has really came into her own these last couple weeks. So I'm so proud of Michaela Timpson, because I've been somebody that's saying that the final version of this team, the team that wins a championship, the team that is, the threat that they're supposed to be, that team has Michaela Timpson either as a starter or as a big rotational player. And I think that coming into this season, everybody was really concerned about the big rotation for the Indiana Fever. It felt like the only big that we really had was Aaliyah Boston, who was a proven star. But, we had Monique Billings, which, prior to this, she never was a starter for anybody. Myisha Hines-Allen, she's not necessarily like a traditional center. She plays center for us sometimes, but she's more of a forward. And then we had, Demirs Dantas, and then we had Michaela Timpson. So it looked like this team was, going to be really, really deficient when it came to being able to rotate bigs and make sure that Aaliyah Boston's able to stay fresh and healthy. But over the course of the season, they've all just gotten better. Myisha Hallen's, kind of popped off first, kind of being like that glue player, great passer, playing tough. Then Monique Billings followed, just being able to be a great rim runner, being able to finish at the rim, being able to knock down threes, just being a little bit of an offensive player that we need to be here to be that, so that we can supplement when AB's not on the floor, or if AB is in foul trouble or anything like that. And then we get Michaela Timpson because Demiris Dantas was giving us absolutely nothing. Jared Dantas was giving us absolutely nothing. I like Dantas a little bit. She was giving us nothing. But KK, these last couple games, she's been playing so tough. She's been playing so strong. I remember the game against Phoenix where she put a Kalia Copper's shot on the glass. Like, she's just playing with so much force. She looks like she's really comfortable actually in her body for the first time. She's blocking shots, contesting shots, grabbing rebounds, getting out and, being very patient on the offensive end when she gets the ball off a rebound or, whether it be off a dump off pass. And I think that with Caitlin being on that minutes restriction and being able to play more minutes with Michaela Timpson, that's actually create a little bit of chemistry there between those two. That kind of reminds me of a little bit of the original two-man game that we saw between Aaliyah and Caitlin during the 24 season. So I just think that with it's not an injury in disguise, because I know that Steph White likes to say that, because it allows other players to be able to do things. Cool. Caitlin's injury is not necessarily a blessing in disguise. It was more so kind of just good for being able to show Caitlin, hey, these are different ways that you can fit in with the team. With you only playing 25 minutes a game, you're going to be playing with different players at different times. How can you adjust with those players? You saw how she plays with Michaela Timpson. She's always been great with Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull and players like that. And then she gets back with the starters. How can we incorporate you with Aaliyah and Kelsey Mitchell to the point where they're able to still be who they need to be and you're able to be who you need to be. And they've just figured it out. They figured it out, and I'm excited these next couple of games. We have the game against Seattle, I think, on Tuesday, a game against Portland on Thursday or Friday, and then we play against Minnesota. So we should hopefully be able to roll in there with two more wins going into this week. Going into that Minnesota game, like I said, Minnesota just got feedback. Olivia Miles has been looking like an MVP candidate. I'd be lying if I didn't say I'm a little concerned about them. But I just think I like our chances. I think I like our chances with the way how our stars are rolling. The sky's the limit. The sky is the limit. So, Caitlin Clark, the last 3 games, giving us 29.7 points per game, 9.3 assists per game, 4 threes made, and they say she don't play defense, but she's always giving you 2 steals and a block a game on 50-40, damn near on 50-50-90, 77% true shooting. She's turning a corner. That she keeps saying that she feels good, and you got to believe her. And I think that these last 14 games of the season is going to be real spooky. I'm praying that we get some health, praying that we keep health, praying that Kelsey Mitchell stays on this heater. But overall, it's going to be exciting, man. It's going to be exciting. So go ahead, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the Indiana Fever's chances going on. Actually, let me pull up one more thing, because they did put up a little graphic here about the best odds to win a championship. Let's see, where is it at? And it had the Indiana Fever at the top for championship odds. Let me see if I just type in WNBA. There it is. All right. So, best team to win, chance to win a championship based off WNBA BPI. So we got the Indiana Fever at 24, the Las Vegas Aces at 23, Minnesota at 16, Liberty at 15, and the Dream at 13. So I guess we can kind of talk about this list super quick here. Do I feel like the Indiana Fever have the best chances to win a championship right this second? I would have to say no. I would want to see them be a little bit more dominant, to close out this season. I want to see them really play well against good teams to close out this season. They've been a team that really has dominated against the bottom feeders, the Seattles, the Portlands, the Sparks, Chicago, teams like that. I think they have an excellent record against them, but they kind of are a little so-so against the Dream, against the they lost a game against the Liberty they shouldn't have lost. I think they only won one game against the Valkyrie. They can look better against good opponents. So I won't jump and say they're a championship favorite yet. If I were to say that anybody's a championship favorite right now, I probably would have to say Minnesota. I just feel like with the way how Olivia Miles is playing, the way how Natasha Howard is playing, with Fee coming back, Courtney Williams is back at her natural position at the 2, and she's been absolutely rolling. I just love that team. I just love that team. I think it's not Mia Coffey. Mia Coffey, she's also, I think, having a career year in terms of 3-point shooting. I just love that team. They do everything great. I'm making a video about power ranking the teams a little bit later, so I'm doing a little bit of research, and the Lynx do everything good. They shoot good, they rebound good, they defend good, they do everything well. They do everything well. So I probably have Minnesota at number one. At number two, I'd probably put the Aces, just because I got so much respect for Asia Wilson. I think that come playoff time, when you have a player who is genuinely unguardable, you really don't have anything you can do about that. So Aces at two, but at number three, I'm gonna go with Indiana Fever, and I have them right now as just a wild card in terms of just like way they can do, because they can beat anybody in this league. They can beat anybody in this league. They can blow out anybody in this league, but they can also get blown out by anybody in this league. So kind of give and take with that, kind of iffy on that. After that, once you get to 4 and 5, I don't know why Golden State isn't up there. I know I personally have some questions about Golden State's offense. Their offense is terrible, but I would still put them probably over the Liberty, and I would definitely put them over the Dream. But shout out to the Fever getting a little bit of love. You know what I'm saying? Championship odds 24%. Shout out to that. But that's all I got, man. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.